Hi, my name is Ellen and today I am going to be doing a brow tutorial on my favourite style of eyebrows. I want to show you guys a few different products that are my personal favourites for filling and defining eyebrows. The first product that I want to use is the Senna Eyebrow Gel in Golden Brown, which I think works best for brunettes rather than blondes, as it's slightly dark and it tints the hairs too. So I'm just going to be combing through the brows, starting to comb upwards and then just along the top to take down any extra stray hairs. I like to comb slightly forward as well, just to make the hair stand up slightly straighter. Because sometimes I think if you comb straight across the brow first, it almost combs the hairs down too straight and you lose the arch in your brow. So it's better to get as high an arch as possible, as it looks better for your eye makeup. And then just along the top. When I finish one step on one side, I'll do the exact same to the other because you don't want your brows to become uneven. So I'm going to comb through with the brow gel the way I did to the previous side. Again, pushing slightly forward to make the hair stand up straight. I would definitely go for a tinted brow gel over a clear, as I just think by the time you have your foundation, your powder and everything on, it will make the brow go back to the colour that they were, as sometimes I find the powders and your foundations can tint the hair slightly, so you're better to have something with a bit of colour in it, just to bring those hair colours back. Once I have my brow gel in place on my brows, I'm going to start to fill the brow in. So the first product I want to use is by Senna. It's called the Ebony Brow Duo. In one side it has a tinted powder and in the other is a wax. So I don't really like to use the wax to fill the brow as much. I'd rather use it to strengthen the brush hairs and move on then to the powder to fill my actual eyebrow in. So I'm working with the Zoeva winged liner brush. It's my personal favourite for working into the brow. It goes really, really sharp. So for my first step to fill the brow, I want to work into my brow powder with my angled brush. And I'm going to start in the very inner corner of the eyebrow and sketching a line just along the base from the very inner corner to the outside corner. Less is more with this powder as it's very high pigmented. So if you take smaller amounts at a time, it'll work out better in the eyebrow because it means you won't go as dark with the colour. And sketch right out to the very end, and if you need to extend your brows, continue where the last hair went and take it out. You don't need to sketch your line in one straight line the whole way across. You can take it in sections. I find it's easier for myself to take it in sections too. So just matching my brow to the other side, again I'm going to sketch a line right along the base of my brow, adding some powder to my angled brush and starting from the very inner corner again, right out to the very outer corner. When you're happy with your underline on either side, you're going to move on to your next step, which is to fill upwards into the brow. The next product that I'm going to use to fill in my eyebrow is the Senna Neutral palette. I like the fact that it has 3 different tones of brow powder to give a more realistic feel to the brow rather than filling it with just one shade the whole way across. So again, I'm going to work into my angled liner brush by Zoeva and mix 3 of the shades together, and from the line I have drawn, I'm going to push up into the brow to fill it in. Again, you don't need to start from the very inner corner of the brow with this. As long as you get the line blurred out up into the brow, it'll look more realistic and more natural. I think this is where a lot of people go wrong when they're filling the brow, because they tend to fill across, but because you've combed upwards with your gel, you want to continue that shape throughout the brow by pushing upwards into the eyebrow. So you're just working across the baseline throughout the brow, pushing upwards to give a bit more structure to your eyebrow. When you get to the very inner corner of the brow, I still like to see some hair there, so I don't like to fill it too much. So I prefer to mix my lighter tones in the palette and push upwards again from that section. Once you have one side finished, I'm going to move on to the other and do the same thing. Again, mixing 3 colours together and blending upwards through the brow. I think the trick with this step is to be very light-handed, because if you be too heavy-handed, you'll create harsh lines throughout the brow and you want it to be quite soft. So the next step for filling my brows is to create a top line along my arch. For this step, I'm going to be using the first colour and the last colour in the palette, as they're slightly darker and create more definition along the arch. Starting my top line slightly further out and along the top of the arch to fill. This will create more strength and a cleaner arch to the brow. From the arch, keep the line straight and meet it at the end of the bottom line. Once you're happy with one side, move on to the next and repeat. Just ensures that both sides will be even. If you find that your brows are more straight and that you're missing an arch with your brow, sketch slightly up onto the skin as it lifts up your brow hairs. So once you're happy with your shape, I'm going to move on to the final step, which is concealer. The product that I'm going to be using to conceal underneath my brows is the Makeup Studio Cream Concealer in shade 2. I really like the consistency of this concealer because it is more creamy. It has better coverage, especially if you're trying to grow your eyebrows out. So working into the same brush again, my angled Zoeva brush. When you're concealing below the brow, start from the very inner corner and move right along until the outer corner, as close as you can get it to the eyebrows. Try and keep your concealer line as close as you can get it below the brows, as it will look much more precise. Starting from the very inner corner and sketching right along underneath my baseline. Again, you can take this line in sections, so don't feel like it needs to be one straight line. You can break it up to make it easier for yourself. Right out to the very outside corner. When you have your line sketched out, pull it down towards the eye to soften it back into the skin. It doesn't matter where you start to pull it down, as long as you have it even the full way across, as you're going to be softening over this with a blending brush anyway. So I want to repeat this step on the other side before I soften both down into the skin again. Starting from the very inner corner of the brow, and pulling right out towards the end of the brow. Once you have the step completed, I'm going to use a soft fluffy brush to smooth my concealer down into the skin. I am going to use the Luxe Soft Definer by Zoeva. It's one of my favourite blending brushes for eyeshadow, and I also love it for bringing my concealer back down into the skin again. So with nothing on the brush, just working in circular motions to smooth my concealer out into the skin again. So I'm going to repeat the same step on the other side. Again, just working in circular motions along the concealer to buff it down into the skin. Working this around until you can't see the join between the concealer and the skin anymore. You want everything to fade really nicely so that your eye makeup won't catch in the concealer when you go to buff it in. So just to neaten up any hairs that have fallen out of place from filling in the brows, I'm going to go back to the tinted brow gel just to comb through and neaten up my hairs again. So pushing right up through the eyebrow, right until the very end, and combing straight across the top of the brow. Once you have your brow gel applied, this is the last step to creating the perfect eyebrow.